Right, hello. You're reading a book. We talk. No.
Hello.
Gemma's had coffee.
I'm drinking coffee right now.
That's your coffee witch laugh.
Yeah.
It comes out during and slightly after coffee.
It's solstice. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice, everybody.
Happy solstice.
Even if you're listening to this 900 years from now, when all that's left is this crumbling podcast,
and
this is the only tape your family have got in the bunker, and you can only listen to this. And so every morning everyone wakes up and says to each other, hello, because
Happy solstice, everyone. Again, today. Yeah.
After the Armageddon, we won't know when solstice is. So
floating on a raft of plastic in a flooded world. On that happy note.
We'll read out really quickly.
Yeah.
How are you doing, other than caffeinated?
I am good. We didn't do our reflect. I was looking forward to doing some pagan chisel with the group this morning, and we got about as far as we made some willow crowns. That was nice, and we made some elderflower. I would call it tea rather than cordial.
Yeah.
But I was quite up for like writing down some kind of like wishes for the summer or gratitudes for the year so far, and then burning it in a little bundle with some stinky eucalyptus leaves. But sadly, we didn't get that far. Didn't happen. Other things happened. It was fine.
Other exciting child-led things happened.
This is true. But what have you seen?
No, I was looking at a tree.
All right. I was thinking if I had to write something, I don't actually know what it would be. Like a gratitude for the last year or a hope for the summer.
You're not grateful for anything?
No.
I personally have done this year?
No.
There's nothing that you think I've done
that's
worth thanking me for. Thanks.
I was talking, the
I know
universe.
what you mean.
Thank the universe. Let's just sit in silence for a minute and thank the universe.
Maybe it's because you're such a die-hard capitalist that you don't think you've got anybody to thank, because you got here by pulling up your own bootstraps and working hard, and there shouldn't be handouts. That's what you think, isn't it? That is exactly what you think.
That's definitely what I think.
I don't know if anybody can... You can't see it on the podcast. 100%. Gemma's eyes are raging.
Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt.
Stop.
That's all I'm going to say on that matter. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm feeling slightly bunged up because I don't know if it's a new house that's making me slightly ill, or that I've been in.
It's a very high pollen count today, mate. Very high.
Do you know what? I think I might have. I wonder if there's something to do with night pollen, because my throat is fine, and then at about 5 or 6 o'clock it starts to close up, and then I genuinely wake up in the morning feeling like someone has rammed wine corks in my nose and forced me to like swallow sandpaper, and I'm like,
I think it is. I think it's like your body deals with it, and then it gets to the end of the day and you've like had all that pollen in your system.
But I
definitely wake up in the morning.
I've tried taking hay fever tablets before I go to bed. It doesn't help, which I thought would be a long term. It'll take more time. I don't think that's true.
It is. Depends on the type.
But other than that, I'm enjoying the rain that's suddenly come and broken this sort of drought. I feel like everything has... I feel like the outside is... You know when you take a big drink, and then after you've had the drink, you go, ah!
Yeah.
I feel like the whole world is doing that at the moment. We've had the big drink, and everything's just going, I'm going to do some growing now.
And it was quite exciting when the tree came down, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We were here last week
on
Tuesday with our home ed kids, and just very elegantly and pretty much silently, a larch tree, luckily nowhere near where we were, just
uprooted. Fully uprooted.
Spoosh.
And just bonked on the floor. Maybe
it
30
wasn't very
metres
windy.
from where we fell.
It wasn't. It was a little bit windy, but not by anywhere near enough to cancel. It didn't feel very windy.
And you say a larch tree, the base of it is probably 12 to 15 inches across. In diameter, the trunk.
Yeah.
It's huge, and it genuinely didn't... You saw it, I think.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I thought it was a branch because it didn't make very much sound. And then I looked at it and I saw the trunk across the path.
And what we think it was a drought followed by lots of heavy rain in a short period of time made all the ground
Yeah.
loose and
Yeah.
sodden and all that words, and then that slight breeze was enough to
Yeah.
take it off kilter.
So then we all had to go home, and all the children were very sad.
They were.
But they understood. It was.
Yeah, do you know what we have said before, and I think a lot of people probably have a similar experience where when you cancel a session, you want there to be some dramatic aftermath that you can
Evidence,
show people and
yeah.
say, you see, I didn't just cancel because I was staying in bed.
Yeah.
It was really dangerous to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes it's useful to be able to document and show people and go, this is the point at which we call it.
Yeah.
We're not being
Yeah.
namby-pamby about when it does or doesn't go.
Yeah.
So we were saying this morning that we're in the middle of quite an adulty kind of period, I guess. We've just finished doing. So last Sunday we did an outdoor CPD course for childcare workers. So we had lots of nursery people in and teachers and TAs, and we kind of gave them a brief run through of a bit of the Forest School ethos and how they can get there, and lots of ideas for how they could get their kids outdoors and sort of encourage it in their settings.
And a bit of like Forest School propaganda, wasn't it? Really.
Yes. Waving the Forest School flag
Yeah.
and
then
showing
go and
the-
do your level 3 now. Go. You know you want to. Do
showing
it.
them our FSA tattoos that we have across our foreheads. And then we did on Wednesday, we went to the Somerset Play Forum and again talked to lots of teachers and early years workers about play and outdoor play and specifically that was storytelling, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did dynamic storytelling for an hour and did 3 hour-long workshops through the day, and
I
it
could
was.
have. I was going to say I could have done a lot more, and then I remembered that we do storytelling days, and
Yeah.
that's why that hour felt so condensed, was because
Yeah.
you're desperate to go, oh, and this, oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
and let me tell you about this, and
Yeah. But it was very rewarding. It was an amazing day. So if anybody lives anywhere near
Yes.
Somerset, people came from Cornwall, and like there were people who were very local, people who had travelled a bit.
Nick Elvey was there.
Yeah, from Cornwall, and it's May next year. Just look
Yeah.
up Somerset Play Forum.
Or a play forum
conference.
nearer you.
Yeah, if there
Or-
is one. I mean,
And
there
if
isn't
there
one in
isn't,
Devon.
Start
Start
one.
one.
Start
Yeah.
going right. We all want play. We all value play. We all know play is important. And I think that was so. This kind of leads us on to what we wanted to talk
Can
about.
I just talk a bit more before you say that about
Yeah, of course.
about the conference?
Yeah, of course you can.
Because I just want to say how brilliant it was. It was really, really well organised and well run by Laura. And there were some keynote speakers who were very good. Dr. Pete King from Swansea University, who's just written a new book about the play cycle with Gordon Sturrock, who sadly passed away last week. And the book is all about some research that himself and Shelley Newstead have done into play workers' understanding of the play cycle and kind of misinterpretations of the original terms that are used in the Colorado paper, which is written by Perry Else and Gordon Sturrock. And so things like people's understanding of the term metalude, which is the kind of daydream state that children are in before the play cycle, before the play cue.
Don't
is
spoil the
emitted.
book.
People weren't understanding that, so he's just released this new book. It's out next week or the week after, I think.
Yeah.
So he was there talking about that, and he was great. And another lady called Ali Chow talking about the importance of theory in play work and work with children in play therapy.
And that was actually, I think, something that I saw around the room having big impact.
Yeah.
Especially, it almost would have been, I think, beneficial to have swapped them round.
Yes,
I'm not sure they could have
definitely.
done it with timetable, but
Yeah.
I talked to some people who walked away from the play cycle talk, which was first, and were saying, "Oh, that was a bit heavy for me. Lots of theory. I don't think it kind of works. All this stuff." And then Alison's work was all. Talk was about, well, this is why we need theory in what we do, and you can't just walk around going, oh, I know kids, and you need something to go back to and say, well, why did what I did work, or why didn't it work, and something to hang your ethos and practice on. And I saw lots of, I think, light bulbs coming on around the room as she was talking and going, oh yeah, no, okay, that does make sense.
Sorry, I was just putting the fire out because it was just smoking away there, and it was really
Is it clogging you up?
clogging me up.
And then, sorry, to finish off our adulting, we're doing our cookery course on Sunday, aren't we? Outdoor
Yes.
cooking here with some grown-ups. So, but we realised that we'd already done a podcast about adults in forest school. And I think what I wanted to change, because we said, you know, we are different people now, and we'd have different things to say. But I think also we want to come at it from a different angle in terms of, I think we mostly talked before about an adult's role in forest school and how they help us, or they help the kids experience forest school. And I think today we're more talking about how we as practitioners interact and meet the needs of adults, either adults that we're doing training courses with, or parents as equal participants in forest school sessions, and kind of talking about adults as if they were children, I guess.
Yeah, which is kind of a new-ish thing for us, isn't it, I suppose, in that we did sessions with adults present, lots, but they've always been kids there, and our kind of adult training stuff or adult events have been a new venture for us.
It was we very much done a toe and then half of a foot and then a bit more of a foot, and I've tried to go gently, I think, into this. You know, partly because that's I think a good way to do the business, but also we didn't want to commit to, oh yeah, we're great at teaching adults, we can definitely teach adults, because you do a couple and you realise, oh okay, I need to dramatically change this.
Yeah. And the way that we interact, like we think we said last podcast about feeling comfortable just talking to a group of adults without their children there is, as a person who, you know, trained in any kind of work with kids, you don't actually get that much practice to speak in front of a group of.
It's amazing how many people you
grown-ups
meet who say, "Oh, I'm fine talking to the kids." It's when they, you know, when they have to talk to I have to do parents' evening. Oh, I hate that bit, and you know, and acknowledging that it is a different skill set, and so you should approach it in different ways. And so maybe we wanted to talk about those different ways and different things.
What I really enjoy about it is picking a thing. So at the Play Forum, when we did dynamic storytelling, and we did an hour about that, and it's a subject that we picked because we do a lot of it and we're really excited about it, and we've had a lot of practice at it. So to talk really enthusiastically and lead activities on it for an hour becomes like really easy and joyful, because you just really love talking about that thing and sharing it, and it's really rewarding giving that gift to people and them saying, oh my god, I could just do this, couldn't I? I could just do this with kids like tomorrow and they're gonna love it, aren't they? It's like, yeah, they really are.
What was it? The comment was, oh, this is gonna blow their minds tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you know, it was a little game, but you do get such immediate feedback. Yeah. And verbal feedback. You know, with kids sometimes you're waiting for a bit of a like, oh, are they going to give me a play cue back? Are they going to do... Adults, sometimes that's how you have to read them. Yeah. But for the most part, they just kind of will go, I really like this. Yes. That was really fun.
Yeah. And that any question that can be thrown at you, you can answer it because you have chosen to do that thing because you're really excited about it. Whereas if it was something I thought, oh, you know, we should probably do a workshop on this because that sort of like fits with the day or whatever. I think it was really enjoyable because it was a subject that we were excited about. But there is also a thing about the flip side of that. So when adults aren't going, yeah, it was great when when you just read someone's body language or their facial expression.
There's two of us, and I feel like,
okay, I've like pitched this slightly wrong, or how do I?
It's that look of like, you are a weirdo. This is just too. You're too weird for me, and I'm just sort of making eye contact with you until you stop talking, and then I'm gonna go back to being normal, like the rest of the world, and sort of fighting to be like, no, storytelling, it is important. I know you can do this. Let me try and reframe it in a different way.
Exactly, but it is about us reframing it, isn't it? So I think meet them where they are. Oh, I've misjudged where you are. We actually need to like slow this down and take a few paces back and make sure that you feel really happy and confident in the first little bit of this before I push you on.
Well, I think so. That's one thing to talk about is adults are a lot more self-conscious than or a different. Now, not a lot. Actually, I'm going to say differently self-conscious to children, in that they when you're doing adult sessions, particularly, so storytelling has like a performance element to it, and even if so, you know, we were all walking around pointing at things and giving them the wrong names, but you could feel some people even then. You're going, no one's looking at you. Everyone's off on their own little world doing this, and some people are still going, I need to maintain the social norms, and I can't call that tree a caravan because that would be madness, and people will think I'm weird and will lock me up straight away.
But it's but the more you do those kind of activities and identify people who are feeling that way, the more strategies you have for helping them. So one lady said to me, "Oh, this is just really hard when there's people like nearby and they're just saying." And then I was like, "Let's go over here then." And we just walked away. She was like, "Oh, it's so much easier when you can't hear anyone else talking, isn't it? I feel like I'm by myself now, and now I can do it." But yeah, taking for granted things that you find easy, and you just think, oh well, you're an adult, so you're really capable and able. You're not a child. Like, we make allowances for children and go, okay, well, you might not have the physical body strength to do that yet, or you might feel shy and not confident, or you might not feel, you know, settled in this place. But adults, we make a lot of assumptions, I think, about, oh, you'll be able to do this because you're just like me, right?
And I think that was one of the things that I took away as a comparison between what you might consider sort of university lecturing. So from one point it's didactic because there's not much interaction in terms of standing up in front of a PowerPoint and saying, I have information, at the end of this I will have transmitted that information into your head, which is one way of learning, and that's one way of going, I am an expert and I will transmit what I know. But I think, so we ran 3 workshops on Wednesday, and I would say those groups all walked away with different things, because as the group is doing things, you and I are both finding, like we do now with kids sessions, as you walk past each other you go, I think we should stop that, we should extend that bit, and we should make that a bit longer. And so each group ends up with what was right for them. But they might, you know, and I think that would be really, I was talking to some people at lunch who came back and went, oh, I thought we were gonna do this and so, because they talked to someone who did the first workshop and had said, oh, this is what you do. And then when they came and we didn't do that, or they didn't do as much of that, they were walking away going, oh, what was that? Or, well, you didn't need to do it, or they they chose to do that, or and I think that's a thing that more people should take into that sphere of adult learning, is less just like, oh, we're adults, so we're able to sit completely still and just listen to all the words and then know the information that those words transmitted. So I think that's one of the skills that I would say you definitely bring over.
And I guess it's about play as well. I was just thinking about, what if people who made up course syllabus, I guess is that the word? Curriculum or syllabus for adult learning, or university courses that are not to do with forest school or childcare or anything like that. But what if those people did have some playwork training and made the learning more playful, and what effect that would have? That's really interesting,
Well, I think it's a little bit like school in general, where the goal is consistency in terms of the year group that you turn out. The year 4s that leave you in 2018 should be pretty much on a par with the year group that leaves you in 2019 and that leave you in 2020.
And the only dependent factors would be their levels when they started.
But you go, well, did they all...
a really low level year group this year, so they're probably not going to do the same. But that's
that
literally the only differential.
Yeah, that you could go, they all did Egyptians, they all did subordinate clauses, and they all did, I don't know, ball games and strategies.
But be careful, because we're in danger of getting into the discussion about school is crap.
I'm going to goad you into it one day. One day.
But
I think that, so if I was thinking about universities in particular, that I think there would be more of a kickback with people going, well, I paid to do a course in X and you didn't do that, and how many lecturers are going to be able to stand up and go, that wasn't what you needed. That wasn't what you needed to get better, which is a weird thing to say, that's not what teachers are for. They are, I've said before, curriculum machines. So I think that's something that I do think we need more of in adult education, is it's not child-led, it's adult-led, but not adult-led like you
It's
would
learner-led.
heard. It's learner-led. That's the phrase.
Learner-led.
Yes, learner-led, and you know, adapted to the needs of those learners rather
Yeah.
than.
We have talked about
Everything
doing. I know some forest school people do adults only forest school. So Britta, she does.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's called Wild Women in
Yeah.
Sort of Gloucestershire area. And we've talked about doing it a lot, but we've never actually done it. So probably our outdoor cooking is the most similar to that, because it is just for anybody. It's not just
Yeah.
for people who work with kids. It's not like a job related.
It's a
CPD.
practical skill one.
Yeah.
So
And it is just like chilling out and like cooking some food
Yeah.
over the campfire and eating it.
yeah.
But it has got that cooking focus. But we haven't. We've done like
Done some.
Muddy Mums and Dangerous Dads and stuff, but we haven't done. Oh, we did that away day for the NHS, didn't we?
Yes.
Which was a sort of team building.
Well, I was thinking, I feel like we've done some toe in the waters of whittling courses, which are maybe not specific courses, but I've definitely done, say, Dangerous Dad groups where it ended up just being a whittling course because the kids were off with me playing something else, and it was like, okay, you're all the blokes sit around the fire and whittle spatulas and
Yeah.
be very happy with that.
Yeah. But we said before about how we wondered if we did try that, whether you would get enough uptake, because as an adult nowadays, you kind of
Be deemed as selfish.
like, oh, am I really worth a day off and to pay to go and just basically play in the woods? Like, that sounds ridiculous. I'm not worth that. How am I going to explain that to my partner? How am I going to explain that to my friends about what you're doing? It's, sort of almost like embarrassing because it's so self-indulgent and a bit weird.
But then look at how many courses and places like Hakeford do a day a week of just adults, and they're specifically aimed at adults that are coming out of homelessness, or Naroche do lots of things with people who are in different situations. That it's almost a shame that this support is only out there when you get to a dire situation.
Yes, or it's like a mental health focused
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That it's it's seen as a cure rather
Yes.
than, well, why don't we all do it as prevention?
Yep.
Why don't we all get out and it's just the thing we do.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think so that kind of flows into, we were on the outdoor CPD day that we ran. I ended up having a little rant about meeting people where they are, and it kind of ties into, I'll give a bit of context. Basically, it was a couple of adults that were talking about, they already ran some outdoor things in their school and some of the parents couldn't. Let's not talk about the financial bit, because that's a kind of separate thing. They weren't talking, as we have before, about the class issue and lower income families not being able to have it. Part of what they were talking about was parents that like find mud icky.
Yeah.
So not, and for no financial reason, just they don't like it. They've let's be real stereotypical. They've got a white Range Rover and they want to keep it clean, and so they don't want the kids to get messy and all this stuff. And they were saying, so these adults were having a chat. And they said, we just get them in the mud anyway, and we, do whatever and chuck them in and send them home, and they'll get used to it and all this stuff. And I kind of just went like, that's bad teaching. That's bad teaching on your part to not consider the adults at least part of the learning process and part of the community. To be like, well, you need to meet those adults where they are. Not just as much, perhaps, but some way between. It's inappropriate to start year one by going right Hamlet and slamming a play script down.
Yeah.
You need to meet people where they are in terms of mud, just as you would in terms of literacy or in terms of everything else. And I think that is lost on a lot of. I think a lot of forest schools sometimes forget that, and so advertise and pitch this like real muddy, real adventure. We're going to be getting knives out and fire and all this stuff every time, and if you can't deal with it, then maybe forest school isn't for you. And and avoid all that other stuff that is beneficial, like sitting around and having snacks around the fire, either snacks you brought from home, or just talking to another parent and going, it's all beneficial. And maybe, we've got, I'm thinking of one parent in particular she's said lots, and she's been a great advocate for other parents to go, I mostly came here for me because I wanted to play with slugs with him, and I found it icky, and now, we've been doing this 2 years and I absolutely love it, and I've made so much progress, and she was just talking about herself. She doesn't mention what her son's, I mean, he's made great progress as well, and he's just a cool kid, but she is very open about saying, this was for me and I've made lots of progress, and it was great that I could let you saw wood with him, or I could, and then maybe I did some sawing with him, and then that we didn't immediately go, right, here's the saw, you can cut wood with him, he's gonna be fine, let's swing an axe and do it. That you can read the parents and say, okay, your kid might be well up for this. I've got to find a way that you are also comfortable with this.
And making it really explicit as well. So again, if you're, you might be the kind of parent who, if you went to anything with your kid, you would get stuck in and get involved as well. Like I definitely am. I'm like, oh, you're making stuff. Oh, can I have a go? But some parents aren't that way, and I'll go, oh, I kind of want to play with the paint or the clay, but I'm just gonna, it's for the children, isn't it? It's for the children. I'll stand back, and so every time we're like doing anything crafty, I make sure I really explicitly say, grown-ups can play, get involved, like grown-ups can play. And then it isn't, because even those parents who do naturally play will often make a comment like, oh, I don't know why I'm having a go, oh, I'm just messing around really, just really self-deprecating, it's like, no, you are a participant here, you are allowed to engage in all the things,
it's almost like we're worried that another parent is going, she's playing, that grown-up's playing.
It's so weird, isn't it? So I hope that that's one of the things that I want our parent and toddler groups to feel like, that it is like we're all playing together, and that's allowed and normal. And it's the same thing like when we do any kind of circle time stuff, that we go around and say our names and talk about like, oh, what are our hopes for the summer we did today, and that some grown-ups are either through just you're so focused on your child that you're focused on your child, or through not having experienced anything like that before. But some grown-ups often they skip themselves. They just go, oh, this is little Johnny, and I think Johnny's looking forward to eating ice cream. Anyway, next person. It's like, what about you? What's your name?
How are you feeling?
What is your name?
You exist.
And some people feel really sort of like, oh, I do it too, do I? It's like, well, yeah, go for it, And I think that's, I don't know, one of my theories is that the reason that lots of the parents have become really good friends is because we do that, and we take the time to do that, and don't never.
And also, it's a really good way of, particularly like hopes for the summer, and being open to it being derailed, not being like, actually we need to keep going now. Somebody talked about their camping trip and how it had gone wrong, and that was 5 minutes of conversation because everybody had a similar thing, and we all just went, oh well, have you tried this, or oh, when we do it we go like this. And how many toddler groups could you go to where you might have that thought in your head of like, oh, we've got to go camping and the last one didn't go well, and no other adult knows about it and nobody shares, and it's weird to talk about ourselves. I wonder if it's a British thing to be like, oh, let's not talk about me, I'm I shall be fine, stiff upper lip, but actually being but I think you can see parents that have been coming a long time because they sort of go, after their kids have a turn, they go, oh well, this week, and then they just have a nice little little
vent, little chat. And it's interesting how often there'll be a similar thing that'll crop up, like someone will say, do you know what, my child did not sleep at all last night, and then everyone will go, hey, mine neither, and it'll be just like a common theme, or like someone will say, I'm feeling really just a bit tense, and everyone go, yeah, do you know what, I'm feeling tense actually. And it's interesting to note kind of common themes that you think, oh, is that environmental, is that to do with the weather at the moment or the time of year, or
and I think they do come in not just in the long-term groups, but you start to see bits of it by the end of our one-day courses, where people who are from completely different settings are talking to each other and going, oh, so you've because we go around and say, what do you primarily do, and people say, oh, I work with an autistic girl, or I do this, and it gives people a thing to go and talk about, and to go and say like, oh, we've got a couple of autistic girl and boy in our school, and oh, well, this is what they do, and that you might just keep to yourself. If you were in a lecture theatre, you sit there, you listen to somebody talk about it, and then you go home. And whereas being able to broaden it and people to be able to pick conversations. So yes, they were there to learn about the Forest School principles, but I guarantee some of them went home with new things that they were going to try about autism. That you go, right, we didn't. We didn't, give that to you because we're not autism specialists. But that is part of going on these things, is talking to each other. They're not just like, oh, in the break room while I was handing someone the tray of bourbons, I said, oh, you've got a Thrive booklet too, have you? Actual deep, it's really hard, isn't it? We do the thing.
Completely.
All other stuff.
And
sometimes that is exactly meeting people where they are, because you meet some people on those courses and you go, we need to not get through, but like, you need to do that. You need to have this conversation before you're ready to talk to us about Forest School. You've got quite a lot of anxiety going on, and actually, there's no point us rattling on about everything else. We just need to talk through and let you, exist, and then we're ready to go. And if that means that we don't hit all of the things that we wanted to get in a day, okay, that's fine. We knew that we knew them, and hopefully people, we do, it's explicitly at the start of our adults day, we do say we might move things around and not get to everything, and the board is just a rough guide. Please don't assume that we're definitely doing all of it. And I think that's quite confusing at first, but then freeing for a lot of adults. There's very few times in an adult's life where it's this is optional, you can do as much as little as you want.
Which is quite like, oh, okay. Yeah, surprising.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you think, so we said about doing adult Forest School, but is there anything that you wished sort of outside of Forest School existed for you as an adult? So like, if I gave you an extra 3 hours on a Saturday, I don't mean that like I do the rotas, I mean Saturdays are now 3 hours longer, but your family are occupied. What would you occupy your 3 hours with? Because you do lots of like, sorry, I've jumped all over your answer. I was going to say, you do willow weaving, you did courses.
I love a course.
You do love a course.
I love learning stuff.
And then you talk about how much you wish you had time to practice the thing afterwards.
That is the trouble. I like going on, so I've, recently, I've done, in the last year and a half, I did the whittling with Richard Irvine, which you also did. I did...
That's very good, by the way, if anybody's in Devon or nearby Devon, go and see
good.
Richard.
Go and see Richard.
And listen to our podcast with Richard.
Yes. Very, very good. And basket making and carving letters in wood. And I've done those 3 courses in the last 18 months, and I've used the whittling loads for sure.
I've seen your spoons, they're lovely.
And that's easy to pick up and do a little bit of and then put down again. Haven't done, I did that tiny, I wove a willow plate the other day, didn't I?
You did.
But apart from that, I've not done any basket weaving, because it's great, but it's hard to remember for me. So I need to sit down without any distractions and look at a book and remember the techniques to start off.
Is there perhaps a reason why it's mainly a hobby for people who have retired or who have a lot of time?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who are like professional basket makers who have to be really super strong. Like, it's really tough work, especially if you're like harvesting the willow and stuff.
Right.
So if you're doing it on that level, then it's actually pretty hardcore. It takes a long time. It's a long thing, and then you've got a sort of half finished, quite big bulky object with lots of like all the uprights all over the shop, and a weight to weigh it down with and all that stuff. So I don't know, in my house, if I left that half finished project around, that's going to get smashed up instantly. And you've got to soak the willow, so you need to prep stuff in advance. It's not like a pick up and put down thing. And the letter carving in wood, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just be able to do this all the time, but actually you need like some nice prepped bits of wood, and it's got to be the right type of wood, so it can't be too hard, and if it's too soft then
close
it won't
grain,
last. And then you need a lot of delicious tools. You don't need them, but you want them, and you want all of the different sizes of all of the things, and you want them by that nice company in Switzerland, and then you go, oh okay, each of those is £35. And yeah, so I haven't done any of that. I mean, in reality, you could sharpen a screwdriver and do it with that, but I haven't even got around to sharpening a screwdriver. But yeah, a bit of learning. I just like learning, innit? And not even just like handicrafts, theory, stuff like that. I was saying to you at the Playforum thing, wasn't I, about like...
you desperately want to do like an MA or a PhD.
Yeah, well, I've done my MA, love. Got one of them.
Oh, yeah,
I've done that, yeah.
All right.
Woo!
All right,
woo! Braggy brag brags.
I've got a postgraduate. Does that count?
Yeah.
It's not the same as an MA.
No.
It's not
No.
even nearly, is it?
But I was looking at the levels the other day, about levels of qualification, and it's pretty high. PGCE, it's pretty high
not
level.
Really, is it? It's teaching.
But yeah,
You want to go back to? You want to learn more?
yeah, but like in little after, like 3 hour afternoon chunk. That's a good
Yeah.
little thing, isn't it? Bit of learning, a bit of theory, a little bit of going and reading some hardcore academic text with a bunch of other people doing the same thing and with highlighters and going, oh, this is interesting, because what do you think about that?
Do you know what I struggle with? And I've talked about this before. I struggle with things that are very, very applicable to work. In that I read 2 pages and then immediately want the next session to start because I go, I desperately want to try this new thing I've just read, and like I now know a thing about, So I think I would struggle if it was on a Saturday and I knew I couldn't do anything into it. Although maybe it would be good because I would have digested it.
Yeah, and then it pops out.
And been like, right, now here's an actual plan for it. Yeah. I'm not sure what I would do. I think I would in this absolute dream world that exists, I would like to be able to be here and have completely compartmentalized all of the errands and tasks that I have which aren't achievable here. So to be like, I am in the woods now for 2 hours, and I don't need to like go early because then I can get on with those emails, or get back because I need to do that bit of shopping before the shop closes, or I want to have nothing in my mind, but why don't I just make I'd like to do more green woodworking.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be a thing I would like to do. And again, that's a very tooly, like, oh, well, if you just got a Swiss auger instead of a Danish one, then you could make these things and you'd be great at it. And you go, right, but I'd still be cack-handed, wouldn't I? You go, no, it's the things, if you had the things.
Yeah. Get the things and then don't do any of it. Just look at your lovely shiny things.
And somehow feel satisfied that, like, oh, I could if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh, I could, I just choose not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I would do. And, read and possibly sleep. I don't sleep enough. That would be my thing.
Yeah.
I would be keen to hear from people what they would do with their 3 hours on a Saturday. What would you do with your magic 3 hours? The world has stopped.
Yeah.
And you've got an extra 3 hours on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And maybe they can either comment on this on a podcast link somewhere, or tell us what they do with their 3 hours. I'd be very intrigued.
And if you do already something,
what do you do?
what do you recommend?
What's your prevention?
Yeah.
Ideal.
Cool.
There's one space left for cooking on Sunday if anybody would like to come and lives inexplicably close to us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are about to stop recording and put together a calendar for all our courses for the next year.
Woo.
So next time we talk to you, we'll be able to say there's 200 courses now, and we've decided not to sleep.
Yeah.
But next time we'll be able to talk to you about all of those lovely things that are coming up. So I don't have anything else.
No.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.